Gang, there's a lot of new launches happening very soon. I've compiled a list of 17 fragrances of new stuff that's soon to land. Some maybe even have landed already. One I actually got to sample earlier this year while I was on a travel to the UK. A fragrance that I thought was pretty good, but I didn't pick up, obviously. So we're going to find out about it today. So if you're curious to learn about new launches, new fragrances coming soon, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yesterday we're talking about new fragrances from niche houses and designers that I'm excited about to check out and smell. And there's 17 total fragrances here from the niche world, designer world. And I'm excited for these, and I hope to get my nose on them very soon so I can report back to you guys what they smell like. If there are any new fragrances that you guys are excited about that I'm not discussing here today or I haven't discussed in a previous video, let me know what it is. If you've got some scoop on something that's soon to land, please do tell us. Put a comment down so I can find out. Let's go and get started. We're going to the house of MAISON CRIVELLI first. This is a fragrance called Neroli NASIMBA, and it's created by Guerlain. So if you caught my video over the weekend for Maison Tahiti's fragrances, one of the fragrances in that collection of fragrances for the Cacao series was created by Guerlain. And it was also a orange blossom neroli fragrance with tuberose and also cacao, obviously. Here we're doing neroli, and it features notes of neroli, orange blossom, petitgrain, leather, vetiver, cistus absolute, mandarin orange, cardamom, pink pepper. I'm always excited to smell a neroli fragrance, but neroli fragrances do start smelling very similar, so I want something different. And with the Maison CRIVELLI's fragrances, they do tend to do their fragrances differently and non-conventional, so I'm quite curious to see what Neroli NASIMBA smells like. So hopefully we'll get to smell it very soon. So the next fragrance we're going to talk about is from the house of Parfums de Nicolai. This is called CARAVANSÉRAIL Intense. So I really do enjoy this house. It's a very underrated niche house. It's Patricia de Nicolai, who is from the family of Guerlain, the house of Guerlain. She has her own line of fragrances, and there are several fragrances I really enjoy. I have a pretty big collection from the brand that I really enjoy. Are you a fan of this house? This fragrance sounds quite delicious, actually. It's created by Patricia de Nicolai. She's the perfumer of all the fragrances for Parfums de Nicolai. This one features notes of coffee, cardamom, tonka beans, cloves, sandalwood, cinnamon, patchouli, amber, vanilla, immortelle, plum. This is actually really exciting. Sounds really delicious. I like the combination of coffee and cardamom. Middle East, you drink that stuff, so you're kind of used to the smell of cardamom. Cardamom tends to have a bit of a soapiness to me sometimes, and contrasted with the coffee, which is kind of earthy and a bit woody as well, but with that kind of really robust flavor of what coffee tastes like. I really get a soapiness when there's a cardamom thrown into the mix. So we'll see how this one is, because sometimes they do wear like that as well, but I really do like the combination of coffee and cardamom. This one seems to be going into more of like a very warm, spicy direction with the cloves and the cinnamon as well. So if you guys have gotten your nose on this one, let me know. So moving on to the house of Estee Lauder, we've got another flanker for the long-standing Bronze Goddess series of fragrances. This is a flanker called LUMIERE. It's a 2023 launch, obviously. No perfumer is credited here. Seems like they're going into a further kind of a beachy, kind of a milky direction, I think, for this one. Tropical floral for sure, with frangipani, jasmine sambac, lemon leaf, mandarin, coconut milk, tuberose, moss, and amber. Are you a fan of this particular collection? So I have done research, and actually I always look at comments. Of course, I'm now doing videos around people's comments, or a collection of comments. And from what I remember hearing, a lot of you have mentioned that Bronze Goddess used to be really great, and it became, or got reformulated like in the latter part of the 2010s, and it's not as good. Is this your experience? I only caught on to the Bronze Goddess collection late 2010s and early 2020s, so I like what I smell, but I can only imagine how great it smelled if this is really true. So let me know if you've experienced this about Bronze Goddess, and let me know what you think about the sound of L'Eau de Lumière with Estee Lauder's Bronze Goddess collection of fragrances. So this next fragrance is from the house of Robert Piguet. It's called ZAZEN. Now this one I did get to sample in the UK. I actually went to Harrods probably 4 or 5 5 times while I was in London, and there they have a pretty big section for Robert Piguet fragrances. In fact, they had mentioned this particular fragrance is selling exclusively at Harrods for the time being. So it had launched in 2022, and I got to smell Zazen. It's saffron, tonka beans, orange blossom, amber, musk, violet, green notes, rice, and mandarin. So for me, I did enjoy the smell of it, but I guess I didn't enjoy it enough to buy it at the time. But you know what? I kept thinking, since it's not exclusive, she did say it's going to be rolling out soon. I decided not to, you know, buy it, because sometimes it's really a lot of purchases that I do, and it really like weighs down my suitcases. So I thought, you know what, I could take advantage of it next time, because Robert Piguet also has an exclusive fragrance for Harrods called Knightsbridge, which I do have, but I love. And I thought this is going to be an exclusive as well, which is not. So if you've sampled this one, let me know. Moving on to the house of DS and Durga, we've got Royal KINAM Oud. I'm really starting to really tackle the fragrances of this house. Pistachio smells great, by the way. If you guys haven't smelled it, do let me know if you enjoy pistachio. It's definitely a really great, delicious gourmand. I'm going to do a review of that very soon, hopefully, but now I'm curious about this KINAM, or Royal KINAM Oud. Once again, it's a fragrance created by David Seth Moltz. It features notes of oud, Sichuan pepper, styrax, licorice, amber, Vietnamese oud, oak, labdanum, and amber. So the licorice idea sounds great. Licorice doesn't come up quite a bit in fragrances, and I really enjoy this note. And obviously this is lots of spices with oud, 2 kinds of oud, and then of course all the ambery touches with the labdanum and the amber. So I'm curious to smell it. I don't know, I'm kind of burnt out on oud, but I think it's starting to sound exciting to me again, because sometimes I fall out of love, like Vetiver. I'm back to Vetiver. Similar thing with oud. Now I think some oud are starting to become exciting again. So if you guys experience things like that with fragrances, you fall out of love with a note or a type of fragrance and you're back on it, let me know those kind of experiences as well by adding a comment below. And also let me know if you've sampled this particular fragrance and pistachio from DS and Durga. So up next, going to the budget house of Yves Rocher. This is VERTE ENVOLEE, I think that's how you say it. This is a brand new launch from this house, and the fragrance is there. I think the highest price is $85. And if you caught my video over the weekend of budget fragrances, Yves Rocher sells fragrances for $85, and a couple of them I recommended were $85. But if you ever catch their sales for 40% off or 50% off, you get a great deal on the fragrances. So most likely this one will be in that same kind of a ballpark, not ballpark, but in a similar kind of a place where they discount the fragrances. This is a fragrance created by Sophie Labbé, and it features notes of black tea, lemon, bergamot, and Rosa centifolia. So I don't get the vert part about this fragrance, and I really do enjoy green fragrances, and from what I read, green is supposed to be pretty popular in 2023, and I'm definitely interested in checking it out, especially since it's got Sophie Labbé's name. I do enjoy her creations. I think she does a pretty good job with fragrances. But moving on to the house of Van Cleef & Arpels, it's Moonlight Rose. Are you a fan of this collection of fragrances? A brand new launch created by Fabrice Pellegrin. It's geranium, patchouli, pink pepper, Bulgarian rose, Taif rose, raspberry, and oak moss. There's a couple of things that I'm not sure about this particular launch. I'm just hoping it doesn't smell like Portrait of a Lady, because it's starting to sound a bit like it, although it doesn't feature the warm notes like the cloves and the ambery base or benzoin that it has, but this one does feature the raspberry, so it's scaring me a little bit. I'm kind of tired of fragrances that are really like starting to be dupey or cloney or too inspired, but I like the idea of Moonlight Rose, and I like the name as well. They have Moonlight Patchouli, now they're coming out with Moonlight Rose, and I think the moonlight theme for Van Cleef & Arpels has kind of become popular, because they launched Moonlight Patchouli, then they launched the Parfum version late last year, which I got my nose on, which smells fantastic. I didn't buy it though. And then now they've got the Moonlight Rose launching. So moving on to the house of Boadicea the Victorious, this is a fragrance called Hasu. It's a 2023 launch and created by Christian Provenzano, and it features notes of saffron, balsam fir, hay, cypress, osmanthus, sage, lavender, amber, musk, damask, rose. Sounds fantastic. I really like the robust, deep intensity of the fragrances from Boadicea the Victorious, so I'm always curious to try Hasu, and I love the fragrances that Christian Provenzano creates. He does create some really deep, rich, intense fragrances, and I get to bump into him all the time when I'm gone to a fragrance show or something. So he's a nice guy as well. So looking forward to trying Hasu from the house of Boadicea the Victorious. If you've tried it already, do let me know what you think about it. So Xerjoff has a brand new fragrance called Groove Escape, and I'm curious to smell this one. Always curious to see what fragrances Xerjoff launches. It's because it's one of my favorite houses, but I'm not certain who the perfumer here for this particular fragrance is. It does feature cardamom, elemi, ginger, incense, cedar, myrrh, patchouli, labdanum, mimosa, benzoin. I like the ad campaign for this particular fragrance, so I like that it has kind of a electric, futuristic looking advertising or, you know, branding for this particular fragrance. So I'm assuming the fragrance is kind of futuristic, hopefully. We'll see how it is, but always curious to check out fragrances from Xerjoff. Moving on to the house of Floraiku. Another fragrance I did sample. I forgot that I sampled this one at Harrods as well. Upstairs in the salon where Floraiku has their own like little Japanese restaurant, like little store of its own, and really enjoyed this particular fragrance. I forgot to report about it. I actually did a whole video, and this was selling exclusively there at the time. It's a 2023 launch, they say, but as I said, I did sample it late last year. And it's bourbon vanilla, benzoin with ylang ylang, amyris, sandalwood, patchouli, labdanum, and musk. So it's kind of like a beachy vanilla fragrance. Those have become very popular, I think, since the launch of Vanilla Vibes from Juliette Has a Gun. A lot of different brands have made their own kind of salty vanilla, kind of beachy vanilla kind of fragrances. So this did smell great to me, although when I tested it out, it didn't really have a very beachy vibe, whereas the saltiness was amped up. But we'll see. We'll try it and see how it is, because sometimes when I'm sampling fragrances from one place to another, my nose is like kind of a bit burnt out. But from what I smelled, I really did enjoy that one. So moving on to the 11th fragrance, it's Azzaro's Chrome Parfum. Man, they're continuing with this collection of fragrances. This collection launched in the mid-90s, and maybe they've got like a 35 flankers of this particular series. So now we've got a Parfum version. It does say that it was launched late last year. I haven't got my nose on it. I'll get my nose on it because I really enjoyed and wore the original back in the mid-90s. I like that kind of metallic, ice-cold, crisp, sharp fragrance style, so I'm curious to smell what this one smells like as well. It features Italian green mandarin, French lavender, and pine. I'm only hoping that it does smell authentic and they don't have that really funky DNA that's starting to end up in a lot of men's fragrances that I don't care for. I really want designer fragrances to smell very realistic, but a lot of them are starting to smell kind of like a very swampy, kind of marine, chemically soupy kind of concoctions, where, you know, there are the rare exceptions for men's fragrances that smell really great, and I'm hoping this one will be great as well. But either way, this is probably one of the first times I'm going to smell an Azzaro fragrance under L'Oreal. L'Oreal has now taken over Azzaro. They did it at the same time as Mugler, because originally Mugler and Azzaro were under Clarins, and they sold the brand to L'Oreal. So we'll see how it is. If you guys have gotten your nose on it, do let me know. Chrome Parfum from Azzaro. So up next, going to the house of Ex Nihilo, it's Vesper Glitz. This is a brand that I really did dig into last year in Paris at their store, and a couple of other stores, and then of course earlier this year over at Harrods, where the brand has their own little store upstairs in the salon. And I'm slowly circling around to this brand to enjoy them. This is a 2023 launch. It's a perfume created by Nadège Leguerlantezak. I'm totally butchered that name, sorry about that, but I haven't heard of this perfumer come up too frequently. But the notes for this fragrance are mimosa, neroli, vanilla, pink pepper, musk, tonka, ylang ylang, jasmine, cedar, and mandarin. So we'll see how it is. It seems like it's going to be powdery, especially with the fact that it has a pretty prominent mimosa note in here. But it's also sounding like it's a very spring fragrance, because mimosa and neroli are definitely blooming in the springtime, so it could have a very spring vibe. Moving on to the house of Givenchy at the collection called La Particulière, La Collection Particulière. I mentioned this last week in my Givenchy La Collection Particulière fragrances video. Faux Semblant is a new fragrance from this house, and I feel like it's going to be in the oud collection and also focusing on frankincense and incense and things like that. And it features notes of frankincense with Moroccan orange blossom, Provençal honey, Australian white sandalwood, Malayan oud. So yeah, I'm gonna get my nose on it. There are some great releases in this collection. There are some disappointing ones as well. I'm curious to smell this fourth release in the oud collection with the La Collection Particulière from Givenchy. If you've gotten your nose on it, let me know. And then finally, if you guys watched my haul video from a few days ago, or maybe it was yesterday, I actually got to get a bottle of ROCHAS Man from the house of ROCHAS, an actual vintage bottle. And I was gifted like a bunch of different fragrances that were very vintage and old, but the ROCHAS Man smelled super fantastic. It was amazing because I've smelled current formulation, and the one I got was a vintage. It is to die for, really great. That cappuccino with the lavender notes together, really, really vibrant and amazing. So I found out recently that ROCHAS Man Intense is being relaunched. I believe it was already launched in the early 2000s, and then they've updated it for a 2023 launch. I'm all over it. I love the original that I have now, the vintage one, but I'm definitely interested in trying out this one. It's got a cappuccino accord with vanilla, cedar, citruses, and lavender, and it's originally created by Maurice Roucel. So if you've gotten your nose on this one, I think it's selling in France. If you do have gotten your nose on it, do let me know. Put a comment down so I can find out. Moving on to Hermès, they have a new fragrance in the Jardin collection called Un Jardin à Cythère, fragrance created by Christine Nagel, or Nagel, I think. This is a great sounding fragrance for me. Absolutely love the idea of this fragrance, and I can't wait to get my nose on it. It's citruses with olive, tree, pistachio, green accord. Sounds like a very green fragrance, first of all, and very earthy. I'm obsessed with olive, love the fruit, love the tree. It's definitely one of my prized trees, and I love it. And I love the fruit itself. I eat it all the time. And I love the idea of olive fragrances, so we'll see how prominent the olive tree smell is. And in addition of pistachio and the green accord and citruses, I'm all over this particular fragrance. Can't wait to smell it. And then we've got an Aqua Allegoria Forte fragrance, and this was a fragrance launched last year, Neroli Vetiver. Now they've got a Forte version of it, created by Delphine Jelk and Terry Wasser, and it features notes of Neroli, Vetiver, fig leaf, fig fruit, petitgrain, tonka beans, rose, cedar, and bergamot. So I'm still uncertain about the Forte version for Mandarin Basilic. It kind of smells different than the original fragrance, so I don't know how different this one is compared to the original, because I do have the original of this particular fragrance, and I've tossed in my mind if I want to buy the Forte version of Mandarin Basilic, because I haven't bought it yet. So we'll see how this one is. But let me know if you guys are a fan of the Forte versions from the Aqua Allegoria collection of fragrances from Guerlain. I'd like to find out. And then last but not least, we've got a fragrance from the House of Oud called Hidden Shades, a fragrance created by Maurizio Cerisa, a 2023 launch. It features notes of tonka beans, vanilla, sandalwood, patchouli, benzoin, musk, cherry blossom, jasmine, cistus, and lemon, with Mirabelle plum and bergamot. Sounds like a gourmand, a bit citrusy, a bit fruity, a bit floral, earthy, and woody as well. I'm curious to smell this one, always am. It seems like it's also going to go ambery, and sounds delicious. I'm curious, and I can't wait to smell it. So that's the last fragrance I'm talking about today in this video of new fragrances launching soon. If you've gotten your nose on any of these fragrances, let me know. And as I said, if there's another fragrance that's launching soon that I haven't already discussed in a video themed like this, or maybe I have, and if you're excited for it, let me know. Put a comment down below so I can find out if there are any scoops for other fragrances coming soon that I haven't discovered or found out yet. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video, please share it, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. So I've got a couple of bonus fragrances here, all from the same house of Dame Perfumery. I haven't spoken a lot about this house lately. I don't know what's going on with the house. They used to come and make events at Tiger Lily Perfumery here, where I got to meet Jeffrey Dame and discovered his fragrances. So now they have these fragrances, 4 fragrances that are launching soon. Chocolate Plus Rose, Pineapple Musk, and New Musk. So New Musk to me must be an update to New Musk Man. So I think there was a fragrance that I really enjoyed from this house called New Musk Man. Now it's been converted to New Musk. I don't know, but there's Pineapple Musk, which also seems like it's kind of going into the Aventus direction. I'm curious to get my nose on it. There's Chocolate and Rose, which is always a great idea. Chocolate Rose, kind of a Valentine's theme fragrance. The combination is great, it does work. And then finally Chocolate Plus. Now, so Chocolate Plus to me reminds me of Chocolate Man. So going back to the New Musk Man and also the Chocolate Man, there were these fragrances that I have from this house. So are they rebranded now? I can't understand, or I don't know. So I'd have to dig in, but these are soon launching from Dame Perfumery as well that I wanted to highlight for you guys in case you are a fan of this house. Anyway, thanks so much for watching today. Stay tuned for another video tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.